He was supposed to have 3 surgeries. He made it through 2.
Honest truth, we all thought that the way he was carrying himself, that he would have been fine.
So I'm guessing if he was just laid there, he probably would have survived.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like it's foul play. I don't know where it's coming from, but I definitely feel like it's.
Hold on, man, get him a wheelchair, man. What we doing? What y'all doing, guys?
After all this time, the truth finally slips out about what really went down behind the scenes when King Von got shot. And get this, he wasn't even supposed to die that night. But things took a wild turn at the hospital. Von saw the same dude who pulled the trigger right there in the hospital with him. No joke. He jumped out of bed trying to grab his gun. What happened next is straight up insane. You gotta see the CCTV to believe it. That chaotic moment might have sealed Von's fate right then and there. But here's where it gets even messier. There might have been more going on than just a shootout gone wrong. According to his cousin, there's foul play tied to Von's death. Real talk. Some of the people closest to him might have had a hand in how things played out. Von's cousin Balo is putting everyone on blast. He's pointing fingers at Von's own manager, his sister, and even big names like Lil Durk and 21 Savage. The stuff he's bringing up, straight up insane. The contradictions, the shady timeline, the weird behavior. It's all starting to paint a picture that doesn't match what we were told. And now, Von's name is trending again, thanks to a new video that just dropped and has everyone talking. The one behind all this buzz? None other than Bello. He's been hopping on podcasts and interviews nonstop, stirring the pot with new claims about his cousin's final hours. What's crazy is that after all these years, Bello suddenly has new info. And trust, this isn't some basic rehash. In his latest interview, he broke down wild, never-heard-before details about what really went down in Von's last moments. Everyone knew Von wasn't your regular street dude. But according to Belo's story, the way he acted in that hospital, he was on something different. This man was fighting death like it was just another op.
What's wild is, Belo's story sounds like it came straight out of a Hollywood movie, but it might actually be real. According to him, Von made it through 2 surgeries and was expected to survive.
Bello claims Von's own sister, Kayla B, hit him up and told him there were supposed to be 3 surgeries. But here's the part that'll make your jaw drop. After those first 2, Von supposedly got out of bed, started wilding on the nurses, and demanded his gun. And just like that, he died from straight-up shock? That's what Belo's saying. But hold up. There's some sketchy stuff going on with this story. Fans are starting to question everything. Like, how did Kayla B even know what went down at the hospital if she wasn't there that night? One fan called it out, asking, "How she know he had 3 surgeries and woke up if she ain't even go to the hospital?" And they're not wrong. Kayla got caught in a lie. First, she said she wasn't there at all. Then in her first interview, she flipped the script, saying she was there, but dipped and went home. That switch-up got folks looking at her sideways. Another fan said, "Crazy." And yeah, it really is. Von was in Atlanta for his album release party that night and only his crew was rolling with him. Kayla B was spotted at the same club, but she left and according to Balo, never pulled up to the hospital even after hearing her own brother got shot. That's what's raising eyebrows everywhere. These little details got everybody second guessing what really went down the night King Von lost his life. And now, the conspiracy theories are piling up. A lot of folks are starting to believe Von was actually set up. You can tell Balo's holding back, like he knows way more than he's letting on. One fan straight up said, "It definitely was a setup." Another threw out something even wilder. Kayla B got a Range Rover for her part in the killing of Von. Sounds crazy, right? But here's the part that's got people talking. Right after Von died, 21 Savage gifted Kayla B a Range Rover. That timing? Way too suspicious for some folks. Kayla B said the gift was a total surprise, but there's more to the story. Turns out she had already been linked up with 21 because she was dating his little brother. Now here's where the story really twists. When Von got shot and killed, 21 Savage claimed he was chilling with Lil Durk in Houston. He even said he got the call just 2 minutes after the shooting went down, but fans aren't buying it. Why? Because there's proof that doesn't add up. At that exact moment, Dirk was on Instagram Live, vibing to music like nothing had happened. One fan called it out. So you telling me he ran out the bowling alley, turned up in the car, then seen Von got shot and ended the live? But here's the catch. Dirk wasn't even at a bowling alley. He was actually on live inside a car, and fans watched him get told right there on live that Von had been shot. So now the question is, why did 21 lie? What's being covered up? It's looking shady all around. 21 Savage, you need to stop lying. That's what one commenter said, and they're not the only one calling it out. Someone else dropped, smells like straight BS to me. Everybody saw Lil Durk on IG Live when the news about Von broke. So why is 21 saying something totally different? And now things are getting even messier. If there really was a setup, people are saying 21 might have been in on it too. One person wrote, if there's a conspiracy, 21 definitely death in on it. That's a bold claim, but 21 may have just stirred up a storm with his little revelation. Why? Because one name that always comes up in conversations around Von's death is Lil Durk. Yeah, it sounds wild at first, but when you start putting the pieces together, the picture starts looking real suspicious. The timeline, the court case, the sudden silence, it's all a little too perfect.
Here's the deal. At the time of Von's death, both he and Dirk were facing an attempted murder charge in Atlanta. It came from a shooting that left one man wounded. But in October 2022, something strange happened. All charges against Dirk were dropped. Just like that. The prosecutors said they didn't have enough evidence. Dirk's lawyers admitted he was at the scene, but claimed he had no part in the shooting. But by the time that happened, Von was already gone. And some people believe Dirk might have used that to slide out of trouble. Rumors started flying that Dirk snitched on Von to get his charges dropped. Why? Because there was reportedly a ton of evidence stacked against Dirk. One female witness even came forward saying a fight broke out in the car in front of her, and she claimed she saw Dirk pull out a firearm. That's the type of detail that makes people start asking serious questions. And now those questions won't stop coming. She took off running for her life. And just as she ducked behind a nearby building, she heard gunshots ringing out. Moments later, when she looked back, she saw the victim lying in a pool of blood. But that's not all. There's more evidence tying this whole thing together. Detectives pulled surveillance footage from the scene, and it reportedly showed a hand sticking out of an SUV, firing a weapon at the victim. And guess what? That hand supposedly belonged to Dirk. That visual alone had people side-eyeing the whole case hard. But then came the real bombshell. Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis made a statement that turned this whole thing upside down. She said if co-defendant Davon Bennett, aka King Von, hadn't died in 2020, he would have been indicted for the shooting. And that right there made the whole industry lose its mind. So wait, if Von were still alive, he would have taken the charge, even though all the footage and evidence seemed to center around Dirk? That had folks thinking real different. The theory is that Dirk might have shifted all the blame onto Von, knowing Von couldn't speak up from the grave. And just like that, Dirk walks free, case dropped. Some old heads from Von's O'Block circle started speaking out too. They were suspicious from day one. To them, if Dirk was right there when it all popped off, and he didn't say anything about it at the time, he should have been held accountable regardless of whether he fired the shot or not.
So how'd he get off the hook completely?
According to them, the only way Dirk got out squeaky clean was if he gave up some serious info. And if that's the case, then Von wasn't just caught in street beef. He might have been set up long before that fatal night even happened. One wild moment that raised eyebrows? Von once filmed himself getting searched at the airport by Dirk's lawyer, Nicole Moorman, who used to be a felony probation officer and undercover task force agent. Yeah, she had the background to play both sides.
The rumor? She was working to paint Von as the violent one so Dirk could walk clean. Even Charleston White, Dirk's biggest hater, thinks Dirk snitched on Von to beat his case.
That IG live where Dirk was vibing to music? Fans believe it wasn't random. It was his alibi. It's an alibi for Von, one person wrote. Another said, he didn't care. probably felt relieved Vaughn got hit, because Vaughn was on the edge of exposing everything. Even crazier, Vaughn's sister Kayla B is back in the mix. How do you explain her getting a Range Rover right after Vaughn's death from 21 Savage, who claimed to be with Dirk during the shooting? Too many connections and way too many questions.
So the real question is, did Kayla B set Vaughn up that night? Did she really lie about being at the hospital? Is all this just one big coincidence? Or is everyone, including the fans, reaching too hard? When Bello was asked if he believed Vaughn was set up, his answer? It only made things murkier. But the reasons Bello gave for thinking it was a setup? Straight up crazy. For starters, why wasn't Vaughn in his usual bulletproof truck? Why was he out there alone, with no security, in a random parking lot? None of it adds up. Something's definitely off. And if you want to understand how deep this goes, you gotta rewind to where it really began. The deadly beef. Most people think the beef that ended King Von's life was over women. That's the surface story. But the truth? It's way deeper. It all kicked off when Vaughn went live on IG and threw shots at NBA Youngboy, calling him out and claiming Youngboy was lying in his lyrics. That right there sparked something heavy. At the time, Youngboy was a much bigger artist, and he didn't respond, at least not right away. But Vaughn's call-out felt intentional, like he was trying to light the match. Instead of letting it go, he kept escalating, dropping more disses, dragging Youngboy's name deeper into the mix. It was like Vaughn wanted a full-blown rap beef, and once it took off, there was no turning back. Baby mama drama unleashed.
Rumors were flying that King Von had a little something going on with NBA Youngboy's baby mama, Jania, and Von did not hold back from adding fuel to the fire.
He jumped on Twitter and dropped a cryptic bomb. Wouldn't believe the female I just made a hit with. Not long after that, the internet went nuts when photos of Vaughn and Jania started circulating. Fans instantly assumed they weren't just making music, they were making moves. The streets were buzzing that the two were hooking up.
Jania tried to shut it down fast. She hopped on social media saying there was no romantic connection and claimed it was all about business. According to her, they had a song together, and she was just trying to secure the bag to take care of her kid.
But hold up. Vaughn's then-girlfriend, Asian Doll, wasn't buying that at all.
She hit Instagram and confirmed what fans suspected. Vaughn and Jania did sleep together. Asian said she saw the DMs with her own eyes, and there was clearly something going on behind the scenes. She also called out their "we were just making music" excuse as a straight-up lie.
And guess who else caught wind of all this? Yup, NBA Youngboy. Already annoyed by Vaughn's moves, this rumor hit him as pure disrespect. He didn't stay quiet either. Youngboy fired back on Instagram with a post that had people glued to their screens. And this beef was officially on the verge of explosion.
"I'm gonna make sure my son fucks your daughter since you trolling." That's what NBA Youngboy posted. And considering Vaughn had a daughter, it was real clear who that was aimed at. Youngboy wasn't just clapping back. He was going for the jugular.
And it didn't stop there. It looked like YB was already plotting revenge by linking up with Vaughn's ex, Asian Doll. Word on the street is, he even texted his own producer using her account. The disrespect was getting out of control, and all the sneak dissing back and forth shots and shady posts. That was only going to end one way: violence.
And soon enough, Vaughn ran straight into one of Youngboy's closest people, Quando Rondo.
Here's the twist. Vaughn and Quando? They were cool at one point. There's even video of them clowning Chicago ops together, laughing like brothers. But when that beef with Youngboy got real, the loyalty lines split fast. Suddenly, Quando wasn't just an old friend. He was the opposition.
It didn't take long before they collided.
On August 5th, 2020, Quando pulled up to the club with his homie Lil Tim, who had just gotten out of jail. Tim was fresh off serious charges: conspiracy to violate Georgia's Controlled Substance Act, possession of stolen goods, obstruction, and the cops had already snatched $16,000, 15 pounds of weed, and 2 guns off him.
While everyone else was trying to party, Quando wasn't in the mood.
He told folks he was gonna nap in the car, and Lil Tim, he stuck with him in that ride. That one choice, staying in the car, would end up changing everything when chaos exploded later that night.
At the same time all this was bubbling, King Von had just wrapped up a huge night. He left Opium nightclub after celebrating the drop of his debut album, Welcome to O Block. Energy was high, the crew was vibing, and the next stop was Monaco Hookah Lounge, the exact spot where Quando Rondo and Lil Tim were chilling.
Just as Von was about to step out of his vehicle, one of his guys spotted Quando in the parking lot and gave him the heads up. Von didn't hesitate for a second. He hopped out immediately and charged straight at Quando.
Quando was walking toward the club, probably thinking it was just another night out. But Von came flying at him, and with a couple of his boys behind him, he caught Quando off guard, dropped him. Von's crew didn't stop there. They jumped in and started throwing punches left and right while Quando struggled to break free.
Then, bam, chaos. Out of nowhere, Lil Tim popped up from behind their vehicle, gun drawn, and started letting shots fly. People scattered, screaming, total mayhem. Von was hit in the torso, badly. That's when two off-duty cops nearby jumped into action and fired shots of their own, hitting Lil Tim in the process. When the dust settled, Von's people rushed over, picked him up, and tossed him into a car. They sped off toward the hospital, hoping he'd pull through. Meanwhile, a wounded Lil Tim limped back to their car with Quando, and they too raced to the hospital. Fate had it that both groups ended up at the same hospital. Luckily, no more violence broke out. But tragically, Von didn't make it through surgery. And here's where it gets real shady. Just like Von's cousin Bello said, the official story doesn't seem as solid as everyone thinks. There's too much confusion, too many loose ends. And the deeper you look, the more twisted it all gets. First red flag? When Rondo and Lil Tim were seen at Opium nightclub, the same spot where Von was celebrating his album drop. Von's own DJ spotted them while scanning the crowd during his set. But here's the part that's got people talking. Von wasn't in his usual bulletproof truck that night. He was riding in a regular vehicle. According to Bello, whoever was plotting on Von wanted him gone no matter what. Even if Von hadn't stepped out to fight, they were ready to light up the car. But here's the twist. Von's manager, Track 100, had claimed Von was in a bulletproof ride. So what's the truth? Was the truck swapped out? Track even admitted later that something felt off about that night. Another strange detail. Von wouldn't have pulled up to that hookah lounge or waited in the parking lot unless he knew Quando would be there. And right before everything popped off, one of Von's boys leaned in and told him exactly that. Quando's outside. That info might have changed the whole course of the night.
One fan summed it up best. Von knew Quando would be there. Somebody told him to pull up. That's why his boy confirmed it when he looked around. But here's the twist. Von's manager, Track, never revealed who gave Von that intel. Even Von's cousin, when asked about it, dodged the question. 4 years later, and we still don't know who that mystery person was.
People are wondering, was that guy sent by Von to scout for Quando? Or was he sent to Von by someone else, pushing him into that trap?
One thing is clear. Von wasn't scared. Even while his people in the car were panicking, he was calm. He told them, "I'll be good." But sadly, that confidence wasn't enough. He didn't make it. And that's when everything exploded. His crew wanted revenge immediately. Get back for King Von became the mission. According to court docs, Lil Durk allegedly started planning Quando Rondo's death right after Von passed. The word on the street? Durk had put a bounty on Rondo's head. And that rumor? It shook the whole industry to its core. Turns out the rumors were real. Court documents reveal that Lil Durk allegedly used coded language to offer a bounty to any OTF members willing to take out Quando Rondo. And it didn't stop there. Durk's cousin, DeAndre Wilson, reportedly told OTF affiliates they'd get music opportunities with the label in exchange for participating in the hit. The first known attempt on Quando's life happened in 2021 in Georgia. After performing at a local club, he and his crew stopped at a convenience store in Blackshear.
That's when shots rang out. One of Kwando's entourage members got hit in the hand, but Kwando escaped.
Fast forward to August 2022, and things really escalated.
According to federal records, OTF affiliates got word that Kwando was staying at a hotel in Los Angeles. On August 18th, 4 alleged members, DeAndre Wilson, Keith Jones, David Lindsay, and Asa Houston, flew from Chicago to San Diego, then drove to LA, with the trip allegedly funded by Dirk.
Once in town, they linked up with Kyan Grant, another key figure who flew in on a private jet. Grant handled the logistics, booked hotel rooms, bought ski masks, and secured 2 luxury sedans for the ambush.
According to court docs, this was no random hit. This was a coordinated move, and the pressure around Kwando's name was at an all-time high.
Grant didn't just handle travel. He also allegedly supplied Jones and Lindsay with firearms, including one converted into a machine gun, taking the threat to a whole new level. The group then started tracking Kwando Rondo and his crew around Los Angeles in a Cadillac Escalade, trailing them to spots like a dispensary and a clothing store in West Hollywood, waiting for the perfect time to move.
That time came at the Beverly Center.
As Kwando and his close affiliate, Louis Poe, stopped at a gas station, Asa Houston allegedly positioned his car behind the station. Then Jones and Lindsay jumped out, strapped and ready. They unleashed a hail of bullets, aiming to take Kwando out.
Tragically, Louis Poe, who was outside the Escalade, was shot and killed in the ambush. Somehow, Kwando escaped without a scratch.
After the hit failed, the suspects regrouped at an In-N-Out. There, they allegedly talked payment details with Grant before heading back to Chicago, flying out from San Diego.
It took law enforcement years to piece it all together.
Then, on October 24th, the feds made their move. FBI agents arrested Lil Durk at the Miami area airport around 8 p.m., just 1 hour before he was supposed to board a flight to Italy. Word is, Durk knew the heat was coming and was trying to dip before they could catch him.
A new report revealed that multiple federal agencies had eyes on Lil Durk, and it was U.S. Customs and Border Protection that tipped off the FBI. The red flag? On October 24th, Durk booked 2 one-way flights, one to Dubai, one to Switzerland. That move screamed flight risk.
But that wasn't all.
Durk also arranged for a private jet to leave Miami headed for Italy. The timing, combined with serious charges surrounding his crew, made it look like he was trying to escape the heat before it all came crashing down.
Even though he never boarded those flights, the message was clear. Durk was trying to disappear.
Now that he's behind bars, the case keeps heating up. New footage is popping up all over social media. But the most damaging clips? The ones the feds have. According to the indictment, the FBI has surveillance of Durk's goons tailing Kwando Rondo through LA. And even more damning, they've got video showing OTF members during the actual hit.
And just when you think it couldn't get worse, Durk might have snitched on himself.
In 2023, he sat down with DJ Academics and said some dark stuff on camera. Ever since King Von's death, internet trolls have been spamming him with the phrase, "slide for Von." And what Durk said in that interview is now coming back to bite him hard.
Back then, Durk made it clear he wasn't sliding for Von. He laid it all out in his track, Hearing Sirens, where he rapped, "My brother shot dead to violence. I truly think the feds around us. Y'all tell me slide, then turn around, then have the nerve to clown us. You ain't worried about lawyers, you'd rather talk about Tory and Meg Thee Stallion. Like forget them blogs, not forget your dog. You dudes turn to cowards." But even with that, the slide for Von comments kept pouring in, and it looked like they started to get to him. During his sit-down with DJ Academics, the topic came up again.
Academics casually asked what he thought about the non-stop slide for Von comments, but he wasn't ready for what Durk hit him with next. Durk looked him dead in the eye and said,
"Some reason, I just don't see comments."
The room got quiet. And that answer had Academics shook. Then Durk hinted there might be a reason why those comments just stopped showing up altogether. Like maybe someone or something was making them vanish. The deeper you dig into this story, the more twisted it gets. And with Dirk now facing murder-for-hire charges, things are only heating up from here. There's no telling what's coming next, but one thing's for sure, this saga's far from over.
If you're locked in like we are, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop. And trust, we got more stories like this coming. See you on the next one.